Hello and welcome to this video for Random Quest. I am Athena from Lasso Games. Today I am going to walk you through how to create a character. Step 1 in creating your character will be to name your character, which I have already done here by using the name Robin. After we name our character, we are then going to pull out some scrap paper. To get our 5 attribute scores that we're going to need for the rest of the game, we are going to roll 3d6 and then add the total and record them on our little piece of paper here. Okay, so I have my handy dandy little dice tower here. This is not an official Random Quest product, this is just my personal one. And I'm going to roll the dice here. And I got a 13. So I'm going to write that down here on this piece of paper so I don't forget. Okay, now I'm going to roll a couple more times. Okay, next up is a 7, which I can't count, so I'm going to write down a 6 apparently, and will not notice that until I do a voice recording later. Next up is a 15. Then a 9. And finally, we have a 14. Now that I have my attribute scores, I'm going to look over the classes, and using the scores, I think I'm going to build for a warrior class. Since I am picking the warrior class, I need to make sure that I have a combat skill of 12 and a health of 9. Because it would benefit me to have a high combat, I'm going to take my higher skill and put it in the combat. So I will write 15 for combat. I am then going to put a 14 for health because that's another stat that would benefit me. Then I'm going to put a 13 in agility, a 9 for knowledge, and then my 6, which should be a 7, in personality. Now that I have my main attribute scores, we are now going to figure out the sub-abilities. We are going to do that by dividing the main attribute score in a way using only whole numbers between the two sub-abilities. The sum of the two sub-ability scores must equal the total attribute score. Note, none of the sub-ability scores can ever exceed 9. Okay, so with that I'm going to put a 9 in melee because I want to be really good at melee combat. Then I'm going to put a 6, so that should equal 15. Next, for my dodge and acrobatics, I'm going to put a 9 and then a 4. Since my health is a 14, I'm going to split that equally between resistance and restorative so that I have 7 for each one of these. My knowledge is a 4, so I'm going to give myself a 4 in esoteric and a 5 in cunning. My personality is a 6, so I'm going to divide that equally with a 3 in persuasion and a 3 in acting. Another thing to keep in mind with sub-ability scores is that depending upon the number, you will get a modifier for your rolls. This will determine your success and failures for future. Quote, any PC has a chance to do anything within reason. Decide what it is you want to attempt and determine which of the sub-abilities best fits this situation, and then roll 2d6. If the result of the sum of the dice is less than or equal to the appropriate sub-ability with your modifiers added, then the PC is successful. If the sum is greater, the PC fails the attempt. So always remember your modifier scores when dealing with sub-abilities in the game. So now that we got that out of the way, we are now going to figure out what my total health is. Total health is my health attribute score plus a 1d6. So I'm going to roll a d6 and, unlucky for me, get a 1. So that just makes my total health score a 15. Next up is everyone's favorite pastime, shopping. I'm going to figure out my wealth by rolling 3d6, and then I'm going to multiply that by 1d6. So let's start with the 3d6. I get a 6. So I'm going to write that down. Now I'm going to multiply that by this next 1d6 that I'm going to roll now. I get a 2, which will leave me with 12 total gold to deal with. we are going to go onto the previous page and look at buying and selling items. The first thing that we really need to focus on is buying, because we don't have anything to sell yet. For this part, we're focusing on how the shops at Riverwell will always have any of and only the items listed on the item sheet for sale. The price of the items depend upon your acting roll. When buying items, roll 2d6. If your roll is equal to your acting score, then you pay the listed price. If the score is less than your acting ability, the shop owner will give you a 25% discount to the listed prices. However, if your roll is greater than your acting score, then the prices are marked up to 25%. Let's see this in action. I have a pretty low acting score, so this isn't going to go well for me. I'm going to roll my 2 dice, and I get a 6. So I rolled a 6, and my acting score is a 3. Which means that I'm going to have to pay a 25% upcharge on my items, because the shopkeeper does not like me, apparently. For the sake of this video, I will be sticking with the initial shop, but please note if at any time you are dissatisfied with the pricing, you may visit one and only one other shop in an attempt to get better pricing. So next up, I'm going to pull out my standard and magical items that are going to appear at the shop. Now there's a lot of items that I wish I could get, but with my minimal wealth and low roll, I can only really get a few things. So I'm going to give myself 1 ration because I don't have anyone else to help me if I get hurt. And I'm going to give myself a short sword and a dagger. The dagger runs me 2.5 guild pieces. The short sword runs me 5 guild pieces. And then the ration also gives me 2.5 guild pieces. That math adds up to 10 gold pieces total, leaving me 2 gold pieces. Hopefully I will be able to increase my wealth in the dungeons. Now, before we finish up, I'm going to cover an optional rule for Random Quest, which is rolling for boons and banes. You can take the chance to roll for a boon. This is a risky gamble that can be very beneficial or very detrimental to you, the character. If you fail to qualify for a boon, then you must roll for a bane. The way that this works is that we are going to roll a 3d6. If my score is greater than or equal to a 13, then I will qualify for a boon. And then I will roll a d6 and consult with the chart below. If my roll is less than a 13, I am now afflicted with a bane. So then I will have to roll a d6 and consult the chart below and record the bane on my character sheet. So hopefully I get a boon instead of a bane. So I'm going to roll my 3d6. So I rolled an 8, which means that I got a bane. I'm going to roll a 1d6 and figure out where that lands on the bane chart. And I get a 6. It means I'm cursed, which means I have -1 esoteric knowledge, which, all things considered, probably isn't terrible for me as a warrior, because I already only have a 4, but now I have a 3. That concludes this video on how to create a character for Random Quest. If you have any more thoughts or concerns or anything else you would like clarified, please leave a comment and we will do our best to make more videos. Happy dungeon delving!